Hey, how's it going? Look at this giant American elm slab with these verses inside the pour. Take a look at how I built this. Check it out. Starting right here with Sam Schroeder from Schroeder Hardwoods dropping off the slab. This one was going to be a special table with a single slab with inclusions on the side with epoxy. Now I'm here sanding down the live edge portions so that the epoxy bonds clearly and smoothly and has a nice strong connection to the wood itself. Cleaning out these inclusions as well for the same reason. Can't have any of those floating barks in the crystal clear epoxy that's going to get poured. And then I started working on the form. The form on this I made because this table ends up being bigger than my pour table. After I started on the form, I started cleaning up the sides of the table, trimming it up so that it would fit in the form nice and snugly, trimming it up to the eventual size of the table. Now here's a quick preview of what that's going to look like. Then I go back to the bottom of the form. Start putting those feet on it so it stays nice and elevated for air circulation. Then I tape it off so it doesn't stick to the form. Lay it down on the pour table. Notice it's hanging off. It's so big that I ended up putting the sides of the form on it after the slab was in the center, which is a little different than before. Use the caulk here. Now this is actually the second round of pour. The first round was just a simple black. The second round is a real thin layer that I'm actually adding some colorant into to give it kind of a Milky Way look to it. And you see those little glasses that I have, mixing cups that I am pouring a variety of different colors in. And this I'm going to just put in this pour and kind of swirl it around a little bit. I used a kind of a tabletop epoxy here in the middle that cures a little bit faster so that where after I put the pigment in, it's just going to kind of stay in spot. It's not going to travel a lot as it cures. Now this table has something special on the inside, not just that Milky Way universe look, but we are adding some Bible verses on it on the sides. Now I used just cut out die cut stickers, clear transparent backgrounds. Takes a little bit to get these on the edge, but I wanted to place these in the spots where people would actually sit so that they can sit down at the table and interact with the verse as they need to when they join for a nice dinner party at this house. So it's time to demold it. When I demold this table, it is such a big table. I end up using a ceiling hoist to flip it and to get that thing off of it. You can see me here loading it up into my truck. And why am I doing that? I am going to take it to my local friends here that are going to run it on their CNC machine to flatten. This is such a special table. I didn't want to mess it up on my router sled, so I gave it to some professionals. They went and they took it and they flattened it, and they did an amazing, amazing job on the CNC. Time to trim up the edges and start the sanding and the polishing process of this. Why the polish? I want those swirls to show up nice and brilliantly, but I also want the wood to have a nice natural texture to it versus an epoxy flood coat. So here we go, lots of sanding. This takes hours and hours and hours. I'd say about 8 hours for this table. End up using 4 different sanders on it to get the perfect finish. And now I decided to get the bases set in their spot. So I open it up, the package, getting it set on the bottom of the table. Not just that on the bottom of the table, but because the slab is so big, I decided to add these C channels in the bottom of it to stabilize the movement of the single slab here. And that's what I'm doing. I'm using the router and the tracks and the Festool track to cut perfectly straight lines for these C channels that I got. I'm going to drop those in there. Going to put a bunch of screws in to hold them. Some people use threaded inserts on it. I prefer just to use screws. I've never had any issues with it. But here we go, starting the wet sanding on the top surface. This takes another 5-6 hours worth of time to get that nice, perfect shine, crystal clear epoxy to show back. Now I decided to get a little silly with the polishing compound, draw a smiley face, draw my logo on the table, just have a little bit of fun. I'm starting to crank with the RO150 to polish this up. End up using 3 different compounds and then finish it up with just a sealing spray and polish that in. Now I'm cleaning it off to seal this away with rustic lumber oils, hard wax. This stuff is incredible. It's a 2-part finish where I put it together. I think it's a 1-to-4 ratio. Mix it up, put it on the wood. And I use the flood trowel method. I think it goes quick. I think it does a great job. If I prep the slab well, I don't have any overage of wax within the table. And here we are. The whole thing is completed. It is on its base. You can see how clear that epoxy is. You can see how well the live edge on this piece shows up. Look at the beauty of that slab kind of showing in all its glory. A couple of pictures here, some detailed pictures as you're looking at it. I'd love for you to subscribe and hit that notification button if you really enjoyed the content on this video. Thanks, and of course, leave me some comments, give me some feedback.